Hi everyone, Autumn here. Today I'm on podcast and the videos. I'm going to talk about narcissistic and sociopathic and so on, the cluster B personality disordered traits of communication, maladaptive communication, and dysfunctional manipulative communication tools and techniques. And as always, I come to you as a life coach, as somebody who has been transferring their focus after personal experiences to work with victims, so-called, I don't like using that word, but people who have had to deal with the abuse brought on by somebody, a partner or spouse with, or a parent or a friend with a cluster B personality disorder. And again, I do describe what they do as abuse. The word victim implies something else, and even though we are all victims, I do like to think of us as something beyond that, and that ultimately we have had the power and control for ourselves. So today I want to talk about communication, because I think it's so important that we know the signs of the way in which the narcissist, and I will use narcissist for all of the cluster B personality, emotionally abusive people, that we are aware of these communication issues and the way in which they manipulate and the tools and techniques they use. I know in my personal experience with my ex-husband, he used all of these at different times. Now there's an umbrella term that's used kind of in this pop culture, kind of the community talking about narcissistic abuse, called word salad. And word salad is an umbrella term to a lot of different other communication techniques and manipulative techniques that they use within communication. And word salad tends to be something that they use to describe somebody with, let's say, schizophrenia or traumatic brain injury, that they start to just say random words that don't have corresponding or correlating meaning grammatically within that language, and they'll just use them randomly. But narcissists tend to also do this. So this is the umbrella term, and I'll get to all the other ways they use maladaptive and manipulative communication techniques and styles they use, so you can be more aware of them and look back and analyze, so that also you can not bring with you some of these really dysfunctional, unhealthy communication styles, even if it's just because you were so defensive of them, that we don't bring them in our lives moving forward, because these are just bad. We don't want them. Bad. Okay, so word salad. Schizophrenics, people with traumatic brain injury might use it or do these things. What it is that you're taking these random words, and narcissists do this for two purposes. One is kind of just, well, three. One is to mess with you, because that's always fun, right? Another is to play along in their game or their strategic planning of gaslighting, which I'll talk about in another podcast or video that I'm sure you've been aware of if you've been doing any research. Gaslighting is a way to make the other person question their own sense of reality and their own perceptions of what is real and what is not. And the third reason is basically to manipulate the conversation into some random road. So here's some cul-de-sac dead end, which is word salad, and they're just going to just rear you off the road by pushing on your car so you have no choice, and you start going down into the cul-de-sac, and it's a dead end for you. So it becomes a dead end, basically, of the communication for you. So let me give you a real quick example. With my ex, I honestly thought he was having a stroke a couple of times, because the word salad was so absurd. So absurd. Like, I don't remember the exact words, but it was this crazy. I'd say we were talking about, hey babe, I need to talk to you. This is me talking. Hey narcissist, I need to talk to you. It is very difficult for me when you are 5 hours late. It feels very disrespectful. What can we do about this? Is there anything I can do? Is, planning or whatever? And he would respond with, I see two astronaut went to the store, but it was red, and then it came out, and then I couldn't find the blue shoe that the donkey wore at last year's bar mitzvah for Jenny the clown. Okay, I just making things up, but it's that absurd. And what would happen is he would revert the whole thing on me. And I would say, what are you talking about? Now I'm starting to feel crazy. Like, did I just hear this wrong? Like, this is insane. This doesn't happen. The people don't just take random words and string them along for, any reason unless they have a serious medical condition. And so I would say, what are you talking about? And he would come back with, see, this is what I'm talking about. You never listen. You don't know what I'm saying. And then again, revert it. So that's a big motivator for all these techniques, and especially word salad. So there's something to be vigilant of, or kind of look back at and see what was going on. Under that umbrella, we have a whole slew of communication tactics and manipulation techniques, and I'll go through them fairly quickly. I had originally done another podcast, and it was way too long. So I'll try to give a little examples, but I want to kind of get through the information and spark a conversation. If anybody has any questions, I'd love to try my best to answer them. And I have a fair bit of both information within my field and also, most importantly, within my personal experiences and talking to a lot of clients that have gone through this. So here's some of the communication, maladaptive and manipulative communication techniques and tools that narcissists and their counterparts often use. And like I said, my ex-narc used them all the time. One would be accusing you of doing things that they themselves are doing within the context of communication. Not only in the context of communication, but in your world in general, right? So they may say to you, you may say to them, because you found an email, right? This is what happened to me near the end of a relationship. This was happening a lot. I would find an email that he wrote to somebody from an online dating website. I confront it, of course, calmly, rationally, and he then quickly turns it around, and we had a 2-hour blowout, because immediately he'd say, why are you even bringing this up? Does this mean you're cheating? Are you cheating? Are you cheating? And it turned into me trying to convince him I'm not, and just totally manipulate me by projecting onto me the things that he probably was doing. I don't have proof of the cheat. Well, I do have proof of the cheating. So yeah, things that he was doing. And this is something they'll do, not just about cheating, but about anything really. Another communication technique is having multiple personalities that they'll use. We talk about this a lot with narcissism, the masks that they put on. So within the context of a conversation, for example, they may put on 5 different masks, because what will happen is they pull out one guy, right, one gal, they put on that mask and that personality, and they get so far, they hit a dead end. Bam, the roadblock, right? Okay, now let me look at my arsenal. Let's put on this mask. Now I'm going to be the really sweet, loving, sensitive, vulnerable guy. Will that get me what I want? This is when you'll see them quickly alternating, especially in the course of a small period of time or one conversation or communication episode, whatever you want to call it. Another red flag or symptom that narcs use in the way that they communicate is being the eternal victim. And we see this all across the board. This is such a huge thing for narcissists. They will never be at fault. They will never be to blame. They will always be a victim, no matter what someone does or does not do. If you are currently in a relationship with a narcissist and you're just figuring out all this stuff right now, I beg you, I plead with you to find the strength to get out for your own self. You deserve it. I understand that there's this, and believe me, I get it. I'm not talking as a life coach or someone who has done therapy in the past and worked with a lot of people. I'm talking about an individual who's been through this myself and been victimized with narcissistic abuse. They will always be the victim. There is nothing you can or can't do that will prevent that from happening. I understand that you have this motivation, or did, if you used to have a relationship with a narcissist, that you had this motivation that if you could just do the right thing, they would no longer be upset, they would no longer have to be the victim, and they would no longer point the finger at you and blame you, basically. But that doesn't exist, because they will set up a framework of rules, and you could follow the rules to the T, dot every T, cross every T, dot every I, do it perfectly. And suddenly it's not going to be right, it's not going to be enough, because they will change the rules on you. Yeah, by the way, the things you told me would make you happy, or the things I told you would make me happy, this is the narcissist speaking, they don't make me happy. You did those things? No. I need something else. So they will always be the victim. It doesn't matter. And they will always blame you or somebody else. You find another thing you'll do, and I find this to be almost amusing. It would be funny if it wasn't so not funny, right? If it didn't cause so much pain and harm to people, is you find yourself explaining very basic human emotions to your narcissist that the normal average person would just understand. That you find yourself actually explaining why grabbing a woman's ass in public, that's, when you're married, is unacceptable behavior. Or if you find yourself explaining what it feels like when somebody, just leaves and doesn't talk to you for 7 days. Or you have to explain to your narcissist what it feels like to have a relative just pass away, and why it's so important that the people that you're closest to, i.e. your spouse, are there for you. And all the way down from these big picture issues to small little emotions. So if you find yourself explaining to somebody basic human emotions, that is a huge sign, and it's time to get out or not move forward with somebody. A lot of these conversations, we have to look at our intuition. I so often, and regretted it so much, having gone through this enormous amount of pain and hurt that I went through not that long ago, actually. And it's something that you'll carry with you forever, but you can recover from, for sure. Use your intuition. Don't ignore it. Don't justify it and say, well, my intuition might just be my own issues. No. Really, really listen to it and pay it respect. If you, at the end of a conversation or any kind of communication episode, either be fighting or not, if you sit back and say, what in the world just happened? What in the beep just happened? And you normally don't feel like that with people, that is huge red flag. And it's something that is very inherent to these cluster B personality people, that they make you so crazy that they screw up the communication to such an enormous degree that they're so upset about things, supposedly upset about things that a normal person would never be upset about, that it creates this kind of, I can't believe this just happened, feeling. And yet another communication technique, a manipulation technique within the context of communication that you'll see with your narcissist, or with a narcissist rather, or you did see it in your relationship, is them always bringing up all the things that you've done wrong in the past and ignoring what they've done wrong. Now, it's not even that simple. Now, that is something a child does. It's much bigger than that, because they will take things that are from a very long time ago that have nothing to do with the matter at hand, and they will start cherry picking all the things you quote unquote did wrong, whether or not that was objectively true or they perceived it as wrong. They will take it and paint a picture using those colors, using those bad colors of you. And oftentimes it's to win the argument, to avoid having to give anything and have reasons, excuses, or to put on a show for a therapist and couples therapy, whatever it is. So what they'll do is, for example, my ex would pick up these, he didn't have much ammunition on me for better or for worse. And looking back, I think it was for worse, because it left me very open to be so severely abused and betrayed, and manipulated. But I didn't have, there wasn't much for him to have for ammunition. So he would keep bringing up the same small things that I had done. For example, last Christmas, he had broken up with me for about a month, this breakup, makeup cycle that he initiated all the time. And he was being not a nice man, as narcissists usually aren't. He was discarding me. And I was still in a haze, a fog. I didn't know what was going on. I can't believe it, given my background. I couldn't see it. And a lot of it I blamed myself, and I blamed his abuses when he was a kid, and I blah, 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 blah. And I gave him some presents. Now, he gave me let's put this in context, because this is the perfect example. The real story is this. He had broken up with me. I was heartbroken. I convinced myself that I got him a really nice gift and wrote him this lovely letter. Somehow I'll get him back, which I did, unfortunately, a month later or so. But my parents even had given him a gift, and when I went to go leave, because they saw how upset I was and they were really angry he had broken up with me, and at that point we hadn't been married that long, they said, we're not giving him the gift. He's unacceptable. We don't want him in our life anymore, and blah, blah, blah. So when I went over there that night, on Christmas night, he was not being kind, loving. He was being typical, rageful, horrible narcissist. And I gave him my present, and I gave him another present, which was the only present I got at Christmas. Mind you, he didn't give me anything, of course, which was a gift certificate to a store that I knew he liked. So I gave it to him. Well, during the course, I was there for 2 hours. I mean, that was one of the first times, and unfortunately I ignored it for another 6 months, but that was one of the first times I saw the cracks in the masks that he wore. And I started seeing him for who and how he truly was. And believe me, I'm sure you've all been through this. That realization is so hard. And at that time, I couldn't deal with it. So I buried it, and went into denial. But when I was leaving on Christmas night, I took the gift card back. I had no money. Again, my ex-husband did not give me a gift for Christmas, did not even try, had broken up with me a week or two previously and moved out. He didn't want anything to do with me, and he was being not nice. And I said, fuck it. I left the main gift, but I took the card and I left. For the entire time until we broke up, he has brought up that I stole the gift card or whatever, took the gift card back, and asserted no part of the story into it. So we went to therapy, we have a fight, no matter what and where and who and how it is. Somehow these small wrongdoings on my part will get brought up without context and without any ownership. And see, he will do is he will justify his behavior or feelings is to show how horrible I am by doing that, by picking up these old wrongdoings, so to say, on my part. So this is a huge red flag. Normal people, healthy people, whatever normal is, no one's normal. We all have issues, but relatively healthy people, they don't do this. And last, but certainly not least, that I'm going to talk about today in this video or podcast is circular conversations. And if you've been with anybody with a cluster B personality disorder, you know what I'm talking about, and it ain't fun. Okay, and it's basically every conversation of any depth or meaning, especially emotional, will come down to circular conversations. And what that means is that you keep going in a circle and nothing ever truly gets resolved. No one, he or she will never truly apologize. He or she will never try to make it right if they've done something. He or she will point fingers at you, but not even give you the opportunity to apologize and make it right. Not even give you that opportunity because they feel so slighted. So these circular conversations are just where you're constantly going over and over. And one of the things that you'll see is that you may resolve an issue in that moment, in that conversation, and 10 minutes later, it gets brought back up as though you never had the conversation. And this, my friend, is one of the worst and most insane tools to use for manipulative communication. It's absurd. It's as though you're living in crazy land, similar to word salad. Similar, again, crazy land. Someone who's just stringing along words and pretending like they mean something. So I'm going to end that here. I still have a lot more to say about communication. I believe that knowledge is power. And as we move forward in your recovery or in your life in general, and educate yourself and be really good to yourself and true to your own self, be listening to your heart and your head and in your intuition, I truly believe that we will all, no matter what has happened, no matter how long you were with your narcissist, or or anyone in that group of cluster Bs, that you will recover. You will. I know it sounds so cliche. Oh, I just cringe thinking about it because it's hard for me to even see sometimes. But the truth, this is the absolute truth, that at the end of the day, you will be better for it. Having gone through this, having learned such a valuable lesson about human beings and about communication. And probably, I think this is one of the coolest things. Every client I've worked with, and myself included, we got to see how absolutely awesome we really are when we started to realize how dysfunctional they were. So we got to see that a lot of the ways we communicated innately, we already were pretty darn good. And maybe there's things that get brought up that are negative that we can work on. All in all, you be a good person, you be honest. If you're, looking out for other people, in balance to looking out for yourself, having boundaries, sticking to them, only having people in your life that are going to love you and have boundaries, and so on. I think that this is just so important for us to remember as we move forward. So, all right, my friends, I will see you for the next one. And as always, I'll put my website and any information to get in touch with me if you want, and leave some comments below. Or if you're listening to this podcast, feel free to check out my website. I'll leave it in the description box. Thanks, everyone. Have an awesome narcissist-free, love yourself day.